The Minnesota Vikings are making a move to beef up their backfield. Jordan Mason is a Minnesota Viking. The breakout running back for the 49ers in 2024 has been moved to Minnesota for a 2026 sixth round selection and a pick swap. I am recording this right as the news drops, so the details are still coming through. But Jordan Mason was a big-time breakout with Christian McCaffrey going down last season for San Francisco, and now he's going to pair up with Aaron Jones in the Vikings backfield. Vikings fans, you have lightning and thunder. Thunder and lightning with Mason and Jones. This is a power back that will get those short yardage gains. He will be able to break through tackles. He'll be able to run between the tackles. And he's going to take a little bit of pressure off of the old man, Aaron Jones, who is still electric, who's still electrifying with the ball in his hands, can still do great things catching the ball, right? But he needs a little bit of help in the backfield. You can't just give Aaron Jones 20 carries a game at 30 plus years old or whatever he's at now. He's getting a little bit up there, but Jordan Mason, to complement him, is perfect. You've got a guy that pretty much proved in San Francisco he could be a lead back, especially on first and second down, and you can now complement him with a great change of pace in Aaron Jones, who does everything that Mason doesn't do at an elite level. When you're talking about Mason, you're talking about a guy that has good speed and good power. That's really good between the tackles, but also operates in the Vikings zone scheme, just as he did in San Francisco, at a very high level. He's going to be able to bring a little bit more oomph, a little bit more power, a little bit more grit to that running back position that I feel like the Vikings run game has really desperately been lacking and missing. It feels like the Vikings run game has not had a lot of physicality, if you know what I'm saying. There's been some spark here and there. They haven't been terrible in terms of efficiency with Aaron Jones, especially last year, but it just feels like they've lacked that consistent ground and pound. And I think Mason can certainly give them that. So with Aaron Jones being great in the screen game, great as a receiver, a route runner, a good pass blocker, a third down guy, but then also an electric home run hitter, you've got Mason who can bring a little bit of that home run. He's not quite got that long speed, which is why I don't think he's an elite running back, but he definitely can wear down a defense. Like in between the tackles, this guy can gash you up. So he's getting a 2-year, $7 million fully guaranteed deal, a max value of $12 million, okay? And checking the updates here, it's officially a 2026 sixth round pick and pick 160 this year to San Francisco, Jordan Mason, and a 187 this year to Minnesota. So essentially, it's a sixth round pick plus 27 picks moving in this draft, later in the draft, for Jordan Mason, and that's basically it. So diving into Jordan Mason, he had 789 yards last season in his third NFL season, 153 attempts on the ground, 789 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did most of his work early in this season. He did kind of wear down near the end of the year, but he had a really great start at 5.2 yards per attempt. Throughout his career so far, he has averaged no worse than 5.2 yards per attempt. As a rookie, 6 yards per carry. In his second season, 5.2. In his third season, 5.2. He also caught 11 passes for 91 yards in his third season in that breakout campaign. He's been very effective and efficient with his touches. And according to Pro Football Reference, they list him as having 6 starts. Now, I think the reason why the Niners did this, they're fully backing Christian McCaffrey being their workhorse moving forward. But then I think they're also quietly confident about Garendo as their backup. I think Guerrero is a running back that they really like, and seeing him up close and personal in games last year, I feel like he is electric. Like, he is much more of a Kyle Shanahan type of running back that can hit that home run. While Mason was sort of out of the ordinary for a Kyle Shanahan running back, being that he's more power, right? He's 223, 5'11". He's got big legs, low to the ground, right? He's not really as much of the one cut and go running back. He's more of the typical power back, you would say. He was not a very high draft pick for the 49ers. Was he even undrafted? I think he might have been undrafted, to be honest. Yeah, I think he was, right? And you look at his grading, I mean, nothing but impressive. In his rookie year, 92.9 is an elite grade. In 2023, an 84.7, which is a very good grade. And in 2024, he was the 27th graded running back with the 19th best rushing grade. So, looking at Aaron Jones was 20th in football. Cam Akers actually was 29th, quietly enough. And then you've added Jordan Mason into the mix. Cam Akers is a free agent, though, I do believe, for the Vikings. So, yeah, I like this move because I think he's a perfect complement to Aaron Jones. This is a team that wants to be able to lean on the running game and run the ball more with an offensive line that they've just added a guard from Indianapolis and Will Fries, right? And then also a center in Ryan Kelly. So those are two guys coming from Indy that are power run game guys first, especially I would say Kelly throughout his career. And having that ability to wear you down, I think, is something that the Vikings have not had, right? That's something where Kevin O'Connell comes from Los Angeles, being there when they won the Super Bowl, being there as a guy that is a Sean McVay disciple. A big thing about Sean McVay is not just the flashiness of the passing game, but it's being able to run the ball physically and setting that tone. And this entire tree sort of has that identity, right? Including Kyle Shanahan himself, who just traded him this running back. And I really think this is more about the Niners. They're trying to get more resources. They're trying to get more flexibility in cap space. And they also really like their running back room as it's already situated. And they really like their 1 and their 2. I'm pretty sure they're believing that Christian McCaffrey, they're going to ride him till the wheels fall off. And I think they really like Guerrero, like I said, as a change of pace type of guy. So I think Mason didn't really fit, or he wasn't really going to get the workload that he should have, right? This is a top 25 running back in football, probably a top 30 running back in football at the very least. So looking at it that way, if he's sitting on your depth chart as your 2, maybe your 3, you've kind of got to trade him because you're not going to want to pay the money to him. You know what I'm saying? So for Minnesota to get him, especially with an aging running back, that there might be some inconsistencies there. There might be some injury issues and lingering issues there. There might be some just lack of reliability down the stretch because there's wear and tear. Like Jones usually typically the last couple of years has been tearing it up early, but then a little bit fade down the stretch just because he is getting older. So you have now a reliable option that can take carries from him and that can be maybe the number 1 guy on early downs to really establish a ground, a pound, and a strength on the ground that the Vikings have not had. And take that pressure off J.J. McCarthy and take that pressure off the young quarterback and be able to run the ball 30 times a game if they want to, right? Complement a very strong defense. That's an aspect of the Vikings that they haven't really had. And I think that almost completes them in a way. When you're looking at their roster, I think they need pieces in some areas like the secondary, for example. I think they could still strengthen. Don't get me wrong. But I think in terms of philosophy, in terms of overall, okay, we're talking pass offense, run defense, run offense, pass defense. When we're talking about the 4 areas of the game, the rush offense has been the area where the Vikings have kind of been mediocre. Like last year, they haven't really been threatening. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I kind of view it as like, well, you add this running back and you've made these offensive line decisions. Now you can truly commit to the running game, especially with a younger quarterback that you're probably going to roll with. You don't want to put your offensive production solely on the basis of your young quarterback. You know, you look at last year, okay? You just look at the Vikings, right? They were 26th in rush yards per attempt on offense and 29th in touchdowns rushing the ball, 19th in overall rushing yards. That needed to improve, right? So you improve the offensive line now, you improve the running back position now. So now it should be closer to a strength. That's at least what I'm thinking, right? So I like this move. You know, I like this move. I like Jordan Mason. I think he's a solid running back. I don't think he's incredible. Don't get me wrong. But like I said, he's had very good stats. He's 25 years old. He had nearly 800 yards last year. He's proven that he can carry the load in one season. He's young. He hasn't had too much wear and tear. There's a lot of good things to like about this trade. You didn't really have to do much to acquire him. It's not crazy egregious, right? Like a late round pick. You look at the early workload that he received in San Francisco, 28 carries for 147 yards and a touchdown in week 1, 20 for 100 and a touchdown, 19 for 77, 24 for 123 and a touchdown, 14 for 89, 9 for 73, 14 for 58. And then he started to kind of fall off at week 8 territory, right? Against the Vikings last year, he actually had 20 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown, 5 yards per carry against one of the better run defenses in football. So he did have 13 carries for 78 yards against Buffalo, but if you look directly at Isaac Guerendo, if you're a Niners fan or interested in that side of the trade, like if you look at Guerendo, he kind of was the guy later in the year for the Niners. And Patrick Taylor factored in as well, who I think they re-signed, who I actually don't mind. I think he's interesting. Guerendo was a 4th round pick for the Niners, right? So you look later in the year, right? Guerendo had a 10 carry, 99-yard game against Seattle when Mason went out of that game. I was at that game. Mason went down early, but he still had, a decent game in that one. 14 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown against Dallas for Guerendo. And then later in the year, he had 15 for 78 and 2 against Chicago, 16 for 57 against the Rams, 9 for 34 against Detroit. And then McCaffrey also attempted to play a few games last year, right? So he kind of got hurt, but he did play 4 games last season as well. And obviously, Christian McCaffrey at his best is a top 3 running back in football. And he is 28 turning 29. He's not 30 yet. And his injury, I do think he's going to come back at 100%. So I think this makes sense for both sides. I think this is one of those trades where a team identified a need and one team had a surplus of talent at a certain position. They couldn't necessarily afford to pay him moving forward. The player was probably going to be disgruntled moving forward because he wasn't in a situation that he really deemed he should be in because he's proven that he's a good player. And the fact of the matter is you're just not going to play that much when Christian McCaffrey is in your backfield, right? If Christian McCaffrey is healthy, you're not going to see the ball, right? So that's the way it goes. And I think Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason is a dynamic duo that really suits each other and complements each other extremely well. So that's how I view this trade. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. Jordan Mason is headed to Minnesota. Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. It's Mitch. Peace.